Welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast, your go-to source for personal, professional, and organizational growth and development. We hope you tune in often for all things people management, organizational development and change, organizational leadership, and social impact related. Maximize your personal and organizational potential with Human Capital Innovations Podcast. Welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. In this HCI podcast episode, I talk with Melarka Williams about policy, strategy, and implementation of technology in the workplace. Melarka Williams, welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast.
Thank you for having me, Jonathan.
Yeah, it is a pleasure to have you with me today. I'm excited to have a nice conversation. We're going to be focusing on policy, strategy, and implementation of technology in the workplace generally, but also talk about it in relation to your company, specifically the Hive, and some of the things that you do to try to help your customers. As we get started, I wanted to share Melarka's bio with everybody. Melarka Williams is the founder and CEO of The Hive and also serves as founder and CEO of Ingenuity Technologies Limited. Williams possesses over 10 years of experience in engineering and information technology in the financial services and utility sector across 3 continents. In the last decade, he has worked with some of the largest technology companies in the world in both the public sector and private sector to drive digital innovation and transformation. I love it. I think all of that is super important for the world of work and the future of work. Anything else you would like to add by way of your background or personal context before we dive in further?
Well, I mean, one of the things, Jonathan, I'm pretty much just pretty excited and very, very passionate about, human capital, people and diversity. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, excellent. And maybe as we get started, tell us a little bit about the origins of the Hive, how it came about, what it is, what you do, and then we can start to dive more specifically into the topic for today.
Yeah, sure. So the Hive, so what the Hive is the Hive is actually a freelance marketplace that connects talent from throughout the Caribbean with companies specifically in North America. So the Hive actually has 2 components. It has the marketplace components where freelancers and employers can actually sign up for free. They can post and bid on projects just in a similar way like how a conventional marketplace would actually operate. And on the other side of the platform that's targeted to enterprise client, it has what you call a managed staffing services component. And the managed staffing services component is where we're actually providing temporary or permanent technology tech talent, so like software engineers, quality assurance, and testing persons to companies. So on the managed staffing side, we're actually going through and vetting the talent, ensuring that the talent has the required competency and expertise to actually deliver on the specific project. So that's what the Hive actually does. How the Hive came about. So our parent company, Ingenuity Technologies, when we got started about 6 years ago, we were actually working with large enterprises to drive digital transformation using people, process, and technology. And one of the things that we realized was that a lot of these large enterprises had the budget to roll their projects out, but they never necessarily had the technical resources on hand to deliver on the projects. So we actually started providing that specific service to our clients. And then it started just growing so fast, right? And what we did is that we eventually spun it off into a business itself called the Hive. And one of the things that we're really passionate about, and one of the things that we really want to see is that we feel like there are a lot of persons in the Caribbean that has, different skill sets, different expertise, that they're not readily able to utilize these skill sets and these specific expertise. So we wanted to create like a marketplace or a platform where these persons can readily utilize their existing talent to get access to opportunities across the world, so that they can actually take care of themselves and their family.
Yeah, I love it. And this is really important. The gig economy and the distributed workforce and contingent workers, contract workers, this isn't new. This has been around for a really long time. I suppose there's been gig workers and contract workers since the beginning of time and the beginning of work. But certainly over the last, 10, 20 years, it's increased exponentially. And over the course of this past 18 to 20 months, during the pandemic, we've seen another sharp increase in terms of these talent platforms that can connect workers with employers, and more employers are wanting to rent talent, like you said, getting those contract or contingent workers. More and more workers are wanting to kind of be their own boss and do things on their own terms, and make their own schedules and determine which jobs they work on. And so it's really a great win-win opportunity on both ends of the spectrum, and it can provide just a lot of opportunity, both for employers and employees, especially now that the geographic limitations of work have broken down so much over the past 18, 20 months during the pandemic. Certainly it was possible pre-pandemic, but so many people were stuck in the old paradigm of only getting talent from the local area, the geographic location, that it really limited the talent pool for employers, and it really limited opportunity for people who may not be in some of the big metropolitan areas looking for to utilize their skills.
Yes, yes, that's it. Yeah, COVID-19, the pandemic has certainly accelerated the need for companies to pretty much look at additional options like freelancing talent, to get their work done or to get their projects done.
Yeah. So what differentiates the Hive? Because there are some of these other platforms out there. What is your niche, your focus, and what makes you different from some of those other competitors?
Yeah, I mean, really, really great question. So one of the key things is that we're predominantly focused on Caribbean talent. We understand Caribbean talent because we're from this specific market, and we have a big access to the Caribbean talent pool, right? So that's one of the key differentiators, because a lot of the platforms out there, they're tapping into a more global talent pool. What you find from time to time is that the Caribbean market actually gets left behind. So we understand Caribbean talent, and we're actually curating the best talent within the Caribbean and actually providing these specific talents to North American clients. Because we're actually in the Caribbean and we're on the same time zone as North America, these talents are actually near shore, right? So we're on the same time zone. We have a very similar cultural affinity to this specific area. So we feel like that's a competitive advantage for us. The other thing for us is that on the managed staffing service side, what we're doing is that we are on the contingency worker side, we're actually vetting the talent. So we're vetting the specific talent, especially the technology talent, from a human resource and a technical competency area. And we are providing these talents, these vetted talents to companies. And what we're doing in addition to that is that we're also providing like a service continuity and a quality management model, right? So on the quality management model, we're saying to these clients that whatever you're asking us to do, we're going to be checking on our side to make sure that these specific talents are getting the job done. And from a service continuity model, if somebody actually needs to transition out of the project, we're going to take care of all of that for you. So you don't need to be concerned about that.
Yeah, and that's great. And that really is different than what I'm familiar with in a lot of these other talent platforms that are out there for freelancers and gig workers. They don't really vet the talent at all. It's just an exchange. And I've utilized some of these other services in the past, and sometimes it's worked out really well, and I've worked with great people. And other times it hasn't worked out so well. And what the person I worked with produced wasn't, really on par with what I was expecting. And so the way these other platforms work primarily is through crowdsourcing, right? And ratings. And so you get a sense of how someone stacks up just based on their ratings. But it's nice to have experts and professionals who can really vet the talent and make sure that they actually have the skill sets needed to be effective in whatever they're signing up to do with XYZ company. So that's wonderful, and I think that is a nice distinguishing factor. This comes back to just really kind of the bigger picture, as I introduced at the beginning of the episode today. More generally speaking, as we think about digital transformation, it's something every organization is wrestling with. What have you done both within your companies, but also what do you do in terms of helping clients that you work with in terms of those policy strategies and the implementation of technology so they can better utilize the existing talent within their workforce and in the workplace?
Yeah. So, one of the things that we do is we actually have a four-tier strategy for driving digital transformation. One of the things that starts with is that actually starts the digital transformation assessment, where we're doing an assessment of our customers or our partners' operating environment. We're looking at the people, process, and the technology. We're looking at the vision of the company, not only where they are now, but where is it that they're actually looking to go. We're looking at their value proposition or their unique selling point, their existing unique selling point, and also the future unique selling point or the future value proposition. We're looking at these as key components as a part of our assessment. And then once we've actually looked at that as a part of their assessment, normally what we do is that we create a digital transformation roadmap where we're saying, okay, here's where you are now from a people, process, and technology perspective, and here's where you need to go. And then we're actually charting that we're actually working with them, utilizing their existing talent, and also augmenting their existing talent pool with our contingency talent pool to create that roadmap. And then once we've actually created that roadmap, the next thing that we do is that we certainly look for a low-hanging fruit, kind of a low-risk, high-reward project that we can actually implement. Something that will take maybe about 3 or 6 months max. And the idea is that once the customer actually engages on that, the key stakeholders within the company would be able to get some kind of, we'll be able to get buy-in from them, to say that, okay, this digital transformation initiative that we're doing actually makes a lot of sense. And then once we have gone through that third phase and I've actually gotten that buy-in, what we do is that we now work with the internal team to do a full-scale rollout of the services.
I'm excited to announce the publication of my new book from HCI Press, Bluer Than Indigo Leadership: The Journey of Becoming a Truly Remarkable Leader. Early in my adult life, I learned about an Asian proverb that translates as bluer than indigo. If you think about the color indigo, it is a brilliant, deep, and vibrant blue, what some would call the bluest of blues. To have something that is bluer than indigo is rare and truly remarkable. Contrary to popular myth, there is no one-size-fits-all or cookie-cutter approach to effective leadership. There's no silver bullet, no secret sauce, no go-to model that will solve all of our problems. The truth is, great leaders have all had their unique strengths and flaws, and have all had to discover and then pave their own distinctive path in their life's journey to fulfill their leadership potential. Bluer Than Indigo Leadership will help you discover your own path and explore those ordinary, everyday actions that will help you respond to an uncertain future and produce extraordinary results for individuals, teams, and organizations. Yeah, I like that holistic approach, and there's no question that organizations across the globe have had to wrestle with digital transformation. Really over the past decade, and I think about HRIS systems and data analytics processes and integrations across the organization, all these different sorts of digital transformation that have been happening. And again, it's become cliche to say it this way, but the pandemic has accelerated this process, and it has accelerated the adoption of disruptive technologies in the workplace. It's also disrupted, it's accelerated the need for organizations to do this and to do it well. And so more and more we need to be thinking very thoughtfully about how we're doing this within our organization, where the gaps are, and what we can do to improve it. And so there's the labor component that you do at the Hive, of course, and there's many other platforms that do similar things, or some sort of a related kind of service. But there's also the more general digital transformation element, and how we're really thinking strategically about implementation of technology in the workplace. What are those policies, practices, and procedures that we're going to put in place, the systems that we're going to put in place to make this be effective and sustainable? These are the types of questions we really need to explore very carefully as we move into the future of work. And that actually leads me to my next question. What do you see as some of the biggest trends, as you're putting on your predictor cap and you're trying to think about the next year, the next 5 years, the next 10 years? Where do you see the workplace going, the future of work, and the role of digital transformation in that space in the coming years?
I would say like, I think every engagement that you have, whether you're a B2B or you're a B2C, I think all of those engagements are going to be done through a digital platform. That's certainly where I see the world going. And I think it's an exciting world, right? I don't see a world where we're ever going to maybe 100% or 200% physically go back into office. I certainly see more persons working remotely, working from home, or working from wherever they actually feel like. I think maybe also the days of the conventional, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Is going to be over. If you think about it, there's 8 hours in a day, but a lot of things that you actually have to do, a lot of those things that you have to do on a personal level is done. The service that you need to get, they're available doing 8 to 5. So certainly I see a world where maybe you're going to be doing 4 hours for the day, doing a conventional Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, and then you can do the other 4 hours in the evening or in the night, right? The other thing I see is certainly from a talent perspective, more and more companies are going to be obsessed with tapping talents from wherever they can find the best talent, right? So we're not going to be so obsessed with, okay, I'm in Jamaica, I need to engage Jamaican talent, or I'm in Barbados, or I'm in America. They're going to be obsessed with, okay, or you know what, we can actually find the very, very best talent. If they're in Africa, if they're in America, wherever they are, that's where they're actually going to go. And I say the key thing that we're going to see is, organizations are going to become extremely outcome-based, right? I think the only thing that people are actually going to think about is outcomes, right? And that's what we're actually going to use to measure everything that we do. So guess what? If we need a PR agency, okay, I need one press release. That's what we actually need. So we're not looking and saying, okay, this person has to physically come in office every day, or they have to be totally available to us Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Whatever the outcome is that we actually need, that's what we're going to be obsessed about. And I'm really excited about a world like that, because really and truly, I think we should just really be more obsessed and be focused on outcome as against, maybe a conventional Monday to Friday, 8 to 5 environment.
Yeah, I agree. I think these old-fashioned notions of a traditional 8 to 5 Monday through Friday workday and work week are more or less obsolete. Obviously not in some industries and some customer interaction types of jobs where you have to be there, frontline workers and such. And you do have to be able to interface with the customers where they are and in the way that they need. But in a knowledge economy with so many of the types of knowledge workers that we're really focused on as we're having this conversation, this notion that we just need to be there in the office is a silly one in my perspective. It's still one that many hold to, and many are really excited to get people back to the physical workplace as the pandemic kind of recedes into the background. But workers, particularly younger workers, they really aren't going to have much patience for that, because they've seen how possible it is to work in a more virtual or hybrid environment, and they're not going to just adopt this arbitrary requirement to come into the office if it doesn't actually make sense. And there's been a lot of studies on the increased productivity gains of working remotely. There's been a lot of studies looking at the work day and the work week. And, there's a recent Harvard study, for example, that showed, the average worker really only is productive for about 3 hours out of an 8-hour workday. Another study that suggested instead of an 8-hour workday, we should probably shrink it down to 5 or 6 hours a workday, so that we really maximize our productivity. And so with these sorts of studies coming out, and with more and more people having experienced a virtual workplace over the course of the pandemic, and so many employers getting more comfortable with the technologies needed to be able to make that happen effectively, I agree. I just don't think we're going back as much as some segment of organizational leaders may lament that and wish that were the case. I just don't think that's going to happen. We really need to open our minds and open our eyes to the possibilities that come through a distributed workforce, and the opportunity to tap into talent anywhere around the world, where we can find the best people. And to your point, we can do it while focusing on outcomes. Now, I am a process person. I think processes are important. I think creating a culture where people recognize that they can learn and grow, and that means that sometimes there's going to be quote unquote failure. As long as you're iterating and learning and growing and adapting and getting better, I think that's really important. And so in that sense, I think process and how you do the work is important. But for the most part, I completely agree with you that ultimately it's the outcomes. It's what you produce. It's not how much time your butt is in your seat at your office in the workplace. It's about what are you actually doing? What are you accomplishing? What are your outputs? And what's the quality of those outputs, right? And if we can be much more focused on those sorts of outcomes, I think it'll serve us well as organizational leaders, and it'll serve our people well as they learn, to be more results oriented, and that will excel them in their careers also.
Yeah, and I mean, Jonathan, one interesting thing that we haven't touched on, which I don't know how we could not have touched on it, is the metaverse. I certainly see us in the future maybe going to work in the metaverse, right? Where we're probably purchasing digital clothing, right? Not physical clothing again, but some kind of digital clothing, some kind of digital headset that we're going to work in this metaverse environment. I think that's certainly one of the things that's actually going to change also, so we might not even be using Zoom again, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I think the sky's the limit in terms of the technology that will be utilized in virtual and hybrid work in the future. And I'm excited to see how it all starts to pan out in the coming years. Well, it has just been a real pleasure talking with you today, Melarka, and I really appreciate all of your insights and what you've shared with me and my listeners. Before we close, I wanted to give you a chance to share with listeners how they can get connected with you, how they can find out more about your work, your business, and then give us a final word on the topic for today.
Yeah, sure. So I can actually be contacted. My name is Melarka Williams. Our company website is www.ingenuitytech.co. That's our core business, and our other company website is www.thehivefreelancing.co. So you can certainly visit any one of our company pages, and you'll be able to also find us on social media. Last words around what we have actually been talking about. I think we're actually at a very exciting time in our lives, and I certainly feel like the way of the future, the world of the future, is one that we're going to have people just working on different projects from all over the world, and we're no longer going to be limited by geography or demography in any way. So it's a global world, and it's a really exciting world that we're actually looking at.
Yeah, amen. I completely agree. I'm super excited to see where things go in the future. And I really appreciate you taking the time. I encourage listeners to reach out, get connected, find out more about what Melarka and his team can do for you. And as always, I hope everyone can stay healthy and safe. You can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day. And I hope you all have a great week. The alchemy of truly remarkable leadership. Ordinary, everyday actions that produce extraordinary results. Consider how the nature of work has shifted over the past 50 years. With increased globalization, rapid technological advancement, and the shift in economic composition, the average job of today looks very different than the average job of 50 years ago. What will the jobs and organizations of tomorrow look like? Moreover, what does this all mean for organizational leaders? What are the core competencies and capabilities of organizations and their leadership that are prepared for continued disruption and geopolitical and socioeconomic shifts? Regardless of what the future holds, increasingly, leaders need to be socially minded, data-driven, decisive, champions of talent, and disruptors of the traditional notions of leadership, teams, organizations, and work. The alchemy of truly remarkable leadership will help you to explore your own leadership competencies and capabilities and consider ways to apply and implement them into your workplace and personal life. Check out Human Capital Innovations magazine, Human Capital Leadership. Human Capital Leadership is a free, interactive e-magazine with the mission to help individuals, leaders, and organizations find innovative approaches to maximize their human capital potential. We publish issues quarterly in August, November, February, and May. Take a look at the latest issue and let us know what you think. Thanks again for joining us for this episode of the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. I hope you stay healthy and safe and that you have a great week. Check out our new weekly LinkedIn newsletter, Alchemizing Human Capital, exploring industry trends via original research and interviews with executives and thought leaders from across the globe. We look forward to having you join us.